Hi, this is AP Stedham live in Las Vegas, Nevada at the 2025 Big Ten Football Media Days. Our guest is going to discuss the University of Nebraska Cornhuskers. His name is?
Sean Callahan with HuskerOnline.com.
Hey, Sean, thank you for taking a moment.
Yeah, AP, it's great to be on. Thank you.
We always start with the quarterback, Dylan. So what can we expect from Dylan this year as the quarterback of the Cornhuskers?
Well, Dylan Rhule came to Nebraska about as highly touted as you're going to see a guy come in. 5-star recruit, son of a legend, and Dominic Rhule. I think early on as a freshman, he was outstanding. And then you saw kind of the middle of the year, the league adjusted to him. So there was a little bit of a freshman lull. But then Dana Holgorsen came in late in the year as an offensive coordinator. They brought him in November, and you started to see things kind of turn for Dylan late. Now he'll have a full offseason to work with Dana Holgorsen. I do think you're going to see him run more. Not like Adrian Martinez running, but picking up the 7-8 yard run when it's there. So I do think you're going to see a more polished version of Dylan Rhule here as a sophomore.
Matt Rhule, he likes to run the football primarily, or?
He's a balanced coach. I mean, I think in this league, you have to be able to run the ball. I mean, there's two things that every championship Big Ten team has to do. They have to run the ball well, especially in short yardage in the red zone, and they have to stop the run. I mean, those are the two key defining elements to win really in the SEC or the Big Ten when you talk about, and Nebraska at times was as good at stopping the run as anybody as a team on defense. Offensively, it's been kind of hit and miss, but you look at their defense last year, they held Ohio State to one rushing first down the entire game.
That's incredible.
So they had a lot of good moments as a team. It's kind of putting it all together collectively and figuring out a way to win some of these close games they lost a year ago.
What's your projection for the offensive line?
Well, it's as far as depth and talent, it's about as deep as we've seen Nebraska's offensive line in a number of years. They've got 8 or 9 guys that have started and played a lot of football, which is a real luxury to have, especially in the transfer portal era, because it's hard to keep good players that aren't going to start. They've been able to do that. Some older guys that were injured have come back as 5th, 6th year type players. And then they brought in 2 great transfers, Elijah Pritchett and Rocco Spindler from Alabama and Notre Dame. Justin Evans is a veteran center. So it's a great group. Henry Latoski was at the media days as another guy that's going to start. So you like the makeup of this group right now. And I think the depth is finally where it should be to compete in the Big Ten.
Who's going to support him on the outside and the perimeter, the wide receivers and the tight end?
Well, it's a mixture for Nebraska. They've got Ja'Cory Barney out of Miami, who's coming back, who was their leading receiver in terms of catches. But then they brought in 2 high-dollar big transfer portal additions. Dane Key from Kentucky.
Good player.
He was the leading receiver for the Wildcats a year ago. And then Isaiah Hunter from Cal, who was the leading receiver for the Cal Bears. So you've got these 2 transfers. You got Ja'Cory Barney. Freshman Cortez Mills, who is one of the top high school receivers, a Florida native. He'll plug in there. Janiah Bonner is kind of their bigger-bodied, multi-purpose guy. So that's really their core 5 that will probably lead that receiver room this year.
Sounds like an upgrade.
Yes. I think of all the positions, receiver and offensive line are probably addressed as much as any. But they beat Georgia head-to-head for Dane Key. That was a big win for them to get Dane Key. And Isaiah Hunter was highly touted. So Nebraska, in terms of investment, had to go heavy to get a couple of those receivers.
What about the defensive side? They have good edge rusher, a couple of good edge rushers, and the secondary. Can you cover, folks?
Yeah, the big question with Nebraska's defensive line is the defensive line right now on defense. They lost 3 5th, 6th year guys, all NFL players, Nash Hutmacher, Ty Robinson, and then Jamori Butler, who will start or play at LSU this year. And so you have to replace 3 starters on that 3-3-5 look that they run on defense. So they're going to rely on a lot of younger players. They did bring in some portal guys. Their biggest portal additions on defense were Dasan McCullough from Oklahoma, and he's kind of a hybrid piece that they're going to use. Andrew Marshall is going to be a corner from Idaho that projects to start. He was an all-conference player for Idaho in the Big Sky Conference. And then Marquise Watson-Trent from Georgia Southern was the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year, has been a 3-time All-Sun Belt League player. So when you try to find like a lower-level guy to play in the Big Ten, SEC, you want a guy that's productive, and I think this, Watson Trent, the linebacker from Georgia Southern, is going to be a real nice surprise addition they brought on this defense.
The kicking game, if it's close, are they comfortable with the kicker?
That's been a real issue. They've kind of overloaded all the special teams. Nebraska is going to bring in an Aussie-style punter. They added late. That just got in campus on June. Mike Eckler comes from Tennessee as the new special teams coordinator. They brought in Kyle Kananen, who was at Charlotte and Cal as a transfer kicker to compete with John Hall, who started last year for Nebraska. So there's a lot there. And long snapper, believe it or not, was a big problem last year. Nebraska signed probably as good of a long snapper as you could add from the portal because they had more snapping issues than you could ever imagine, which led to blocked punts, bad kicks, missed field goals, cost them in a lot of big games.
Nightmares for the coaching staff.
Yeah, the Illinois game was a great example. They had a chance to kick a field goal to go ahead, and the snapper misheld the ball, and they lost the game, in overtime eventually.
What do you like to tell people about Matt Rhule as the head coach of the Cornhuskers?
Well, he's going to say what he wants to say. He's very outspoken in a good way. And his hands are everywhere on the program. Like not one thing doesn't go. I mean, he sees everything. Like he pays attention, reads, follows the program. In terms of accessibility, I've never been around a head coach as more accessible as Matt Rhule in terms of when I want to reach out to him or have a question or something, he will get back to you, not in minutes, sometimes seconds. I mean, so I think just he's always dialed in, whether it's 6 a.m. or midnight. He's one of those guys that works those kind of hours and keeps his hands on all aspects of this program.
Nebraska will be successful if?
I think the start of the year always defines it. They got to win at Arrowhead, and that's a big opener against Cincinnati. But then the Michigan game early on, no Sharon Moore. He's going to be suspended for that game in
Lincoln, head coach
for Michigan. It's a 2:30 CBS game in Lincoln, big stage. Probably 90-some degrees that day. So can they get that early win over a Michigan team that's got questions on its own, and they won't be without their head coach? Then from there, if they were able to win that game, I do think it sets up for them to have a pretty big year. Cincinnati and the Michigan games early.
Hey, Sean, thank you so much for being here for a few moments. This is AP Stidham live in Las Vegas at the Big Ten Football Media Days. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, AP.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank
you, sir. Yeah,
that was great, Sean.
Thank you. Yeah. You guys staying all week?
Yeah, stay away. Sean, I'll